That's me.
Thank you very much, Jessica. It's amazing what you've managed to do in just the space of 2 years. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, and clearly there's a huge will. So, from the evidence to the advocacy to the training, huge congratulations. Again, just to remind everyone, when somebody asks us, can I present what we're doing? We generally say yes, because we know we're all working to end violence against children. And that goes from ending sexual violence in childhood or child marriage or female genital mutilation to verbal abuse to corporal punishment. We try to always push for the three breakthrough areas: parent to caregiver support, school-based interventions, and child-friendly response services. We know that they cover all those areas. And so yeah, it's great to be this umbrella place where we can bring the different initiatives together that are all working towards protecting children. So thank you again, Brianna. Thank you again, Jessica, for all the incredible work you guys are doing. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Ruslana from UNICEF, who will say a little bit about the ministerial conference. Maybe just before Ruslana, I hope you can put your camera on. I don't see you. Um, Before handing over to Ruslana, I just want to reassure, I've had a few people coming to us saying, is it happening? We hear that the whole of Philippines won't be able to do any meetings in person. We've been told loud and clear that indeed, as you probably know, Philippines is hosting ASEAN this year, and almost all their meetings will be going online due to the fuel shortage, due to the economy. But they will be maintaining a few in-person meetings. And as far as we know, the ministerial conference is still planned for the 17th and 18th of November in person in Manila. And also to be very clear, we want an in-person meeting. So there's no world in which it will be an online meeting. If we have to postpone it, we'll postpone it to early next year, but we're still convinced that we can make this happen. Ruslana, over to you.
Thank you, Sabine. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
Hello,
I'll share the
colleagues.
slides if you like.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. My name is Ruslana Sirman. I'm with UNICEF Global Child Protection Migration Practice, focusing on violence prevention. And today we're going to walk you through the concept note, the North Star document for upcoming ministerial conference. So very quickly about the history where we are. So we had 120 member states, 80 ministers participating in the first global ministerial conference. We had 109 countries made, almost 400 pledges, and 60% of the countries reported progress within first year. What does it tell us? There's a political will and there's a momentum to continue and focus on prevention of violence against children. Next slide, please. So this year conference will be focusing on, so these are the core principles of the conference. So the focus and the scope will be building on the first ministerial conference, using evidence with a special focus on prevention, showing what works to prevent violence against children. We would like to expand the focus of participation from Minister for Social Welfare to health, education, justice, and technology portfolios. Of course, including multi-sectoral delegations, development partners, INGO, CSO, academia, and young people. We will be looking at what is the progress on pledges from the first ministerial conference, but also what are the new and additional pledges, stronger, especially focusing on the represented areas and sectors. And of course, we want to celebrate success, spotlight pioneer governments and partners and programs, and generate enhanced commitments, including financial commitments, to catalyze progress. Next slide, please. Focusing a bit on prevention. So the main focus, the main scope of the conference is on prevention. It's really looking at evidence-based investment for prevention at scale. So looking at the breakthrough areas, especially parent and caregiver support and safe and enabling schools, and how these breakthroughs contribute to prevention of tech-facilitated harms, including peer-to-peer harms and AI-facilitated harm, how prevention takes place in humanitarian context, and breaking the cycle of violence with the focus on prevention at the intersections of violence against children and violence against women. We'll be exploring the role of health and public health approach in violence prevention, and also examining a growing body of evidence of the impact on climate change and violence against children as a risk multiplier, and the criticality of integrated prevention and resilience for child protection systems, services, and the workforce. We'll be highlighting good practice in key tools in financing, in public and private, for violence prevention and scaling up breakthroughs, and also reflecting on the power of regional bodies to set robust standards and influence national action. Next slide, please. So the program will focus for 2 days between. We're hoping to have between 800,000 participants. So the first day will be focusing on more political approach, opening ceremonies, statements, high-level dialogues, success spotlights, pledge points, also ministerial dinner, and the second in more of a technical dialogues on approaches and strategies for accelerated action. In addition to the 2 days of the main program, there will be a series of strategic high ambition sessions on critical issues, and the scope of satellite and site events will be much more concentrated, ensuring that strong attendance across more focused set of dialogues around prevention. Next slide, please. Pledges and pledge reporting. So the pledging for this conference will follow a twofold process to balance accountability for delivery with ambition for renewed actions. So the member states will be invited to update on the implementation of existing Bogota pledges by September, and they will be encouraged to frame their interventions around single coherent narrative that basically links commitments, current delivery, and future ambition. There will be a high-profile plenary moment for pledge, and basically the announcement of new pledges for the conference will be limited to 2 minutes per country. And countries are encouraged to hold national preparatory sessions to provide an opportunity to agree on the progress reporting, strengthening of pledges, and the new pledges. I believe this is all from my side.
Thank you, Ruslana.
Thank you.
I'm just going to pause here and see if anybody has any questions. I'm just going to stop sharing. And feel free just to speak up, either put your hand up or just put your mic on and ask any questions. For those who it may not have been entirely clear, I think the way I remember it, because it's a lot of information, is that it's 3 by 3. So as Ruslana clearly said, it's focusing on prevention, but we keep our 3 breakthroughs. So it's parent to caregiver support, school-based interventions and response services, but then with an additional focus on tech-facilitated harms, humanitarian/climate contexts, and then the link between violence against children and violence against women. So those are probably the 6 things that we'll be focusing on heavily, in addition to financing, which is kind of an obvious one because that's where the world is at. So hopefully 3 times 3 plus 1 is how you can remember it. That's how I remember it. Are there any questions, suggestions, thoughts? No, I'm not seeing anything.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise a hand. Can you hear me?
Sorry, Beletta, are you speaking?
Yes, I was trying to speak. Sorry, yeah, I
Go
wasn't
ahead.
able to raise my hands. So just jumping in.
Go ahead.
I was wondering if there is also any, dedicated support for the country sessions, which I think Ruslana has mentioned. That would be wonderful to have, some sort of guidance on, country level consultation so that we can align it further with the global event. Just checking if there is any global level discussions on how, on kind of supporting countries to structure the country level facilities. Thanks, and over back to you.
So, Belita, I'm not sure, your line was a bit broken, at least on my end. If I understood correctly, your question was about whether there's country support, and I'll see if Ruslana wants to add anything from the UNICEF side. But we are going to be prioritizing some countries where we really see that either they've made great progress on the pledges or they have not made pledges. And we really hope that we can get those countries on board. For example, India last year and Thailand didn't make pledges. So we're going to see how we can get those additional countries on board. We will be encouraging national policy meetings as we had last time, and those would be multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholders, so with children, young people, survivors, government, UN agencies, and civil society groups. And so we're working on guidance now on those national stakeholder sessions, which we'll be sharing. If the question is about financial support, unfortunately, we can provide technical support, I think both from the UNICEF and WHO side. We are continuing to fundraise for the field non-stop, especially for the 3 breakthrough areas, hoping that we can fund implementation of the wonderful pledges that countries have made. So technical support, and then hopefully the financial support will come in as we continue to fundraise for the field. I'll just see if Ruslana wants to add anything. And Belete, I hope I've answered
Thank
your
you.
question.
Nothing to add.
Paul is asking if there's a record of upcoming national preparatory sessions. I don't think so yet. We will, like we did last time, as soon as we hear about national preparatory sessions coming in, we will inform people. We're yet to organize a meeting next week with the regional and country offices of WHO and UNICEF so that they can start the planning process. Are there any other questions? Ruslana, do you see any questions in the chat?
There are questions about will there be a call for satellite side events?
Yes, good question. Thank you, Roberta. There will be a call for satellite and side events. As Ruslana mentioned, this time they will be less, but bigger. So we had about 35 satellite events last time. This year, we won't have side events throughout the meeting, but we'll leave that space for networking and people to get to spend time together. But we will have satellite events on the Monday and Tuesday, and what we will do is do a call for satellite events and see how much we can bring the different satellites events together so that you can get 100, 150 people at your satellite event rather than spreading ourselves thin over many small satellite events. But we want to make sure that every topic gets addressed in the satellite events. And Roberta, like last time, these will be led by the different agencies. I see there's also a question from Julie about a firm timeline for when invitations will go out. We are hoping to send out the save the date this week, and we're hoping that the invitations, they need to be signed by the Minister of Health in the Philippines, UNICEF Executive Director, and WHO Executive Director. So probably end of May, we're hoping those invitations will go out. Hopefully by the time of our next town hall, we can tell you that the invitations will go out. Whether there will be funding for travel assistance, yes, we're working on fundraising for travel assistance, both for government, but also for national civil society groups. Is there a timeline for officially announcing? Well, we hope by the end of this week, the save the dates will go out, and those will go on out in social media. And the way we did it 2 years ago in terms of invitations for agencies, so let's say Save the Children or International Rescue Committee, or the invitation generally goes to the highest level in the organization, and then they decide who within the organization is appointed to come. So we don't send individual invitations out to everyone. Gemma, you have a question, comment? Do you want to just take the mic? It might be easier.
Yeah, thanks very much. So for those that don't know me, my name's Gemma and I lead the Safe to Learn Secretariat, which is a global coalition and initiative working to end violence in schools. So the partners of the Safe to Learn coalition have been asking how to engage in the side events, how to support in mobilizing the engagement of ministries of education in the VAC ministerial. And we know this is all going to happen. Now the dates are set and the different structures are put in place for developing the agenda and the content of the different sessions. But I just wanted to flag to those on the call that I know there's a number of organizations who are working with national governments who are interested in hosting side events. And we know that the message is we want to have bigger, stronger, more outcome-orientated side events, which will require coordination across those partners. So this is just to flag that Safe to Learn is happy to try and broker some of those conversations so that there's at least for the breakthrough strategy on safe and enabling schools, we can share some of the ideas that are coming from Safe to Learn partners, given that we're not entirely sure yet with whom and how to engage to really share those different opportunities. And I'm kind of reflecting what partners are saying. For myself, Safe to Learn is housed in UNICEF, and so I have a direct line to discussing with Ruslana, but I just wanted to reflect what's coming out from the conversations that we're having across the education partners that are active in this space. Thanks.
Thank you, Gemma. Yeah, I think as Ruslana mentioned in the slides, we really are going to put a lot of effort this time around to make sure we get ministers of education, ministries of health, ministers of justice as well. In any case, health and education. There were very few at the last one, and we really hope that to advance those breakthroughs, we can get in any case health and education.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? Oh, what would be the CSO engagement this year? So World Vision continues to bring together this year a CSO group. I don't know if Tamara's online or Brikenna. They organize this civil society forum that meets, I think, every 2 weeks. So Rajiv, if you're not in contact with them, I'm happy to put you in contact with them.
We are, yes.
Okay. Right, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Then as a last point, I will just update on the World Health Assembly. So World Health Assembly is, for those who don't know, a meeting that happens generally in May this year from the 17th to the 24th of May, where all ministers of health from around the world come together in Geneva at the WHO and discuss different resolutions and different health topics from tuberculosis to cancer, road safety, humanitarian emergencies and health, etc. This year, we in fact have managed to secure 6 events on violence against children, which is great. Again, in our efforts to bring the health sector more on board. The first event is on the 17th, or 3 events are happening on Sunday, the 17th of May. One is the launch of the Out of Shadows Index. Probably many of you know about this already. If not, I'll put it in the chat. It's a Together for Girls and The Economist, launching an index showing what countries are doing across the world in terms of preventing and responding to childhood sexual violence. The second event is an exhibit called the Lost Scream Memorial, set up by the Archwell Foundation, and it's a memorial of children that have lost their lives due to online harms. So that will be in the middle of Geneva, in front of the big chair, for those of you who know Geneva, in front of the Palais des Nations. And there will be a ceremonial ribbon cutting event on the Sunday evening. And then there will be a dinner of the Health Council of Champions. So that's on the Sunday evening. Then on Tuesday, Childlight is organizing or co-hosting a formal event with the Philippines, Costa Rica, and Iceland on data on violence against children with a focus on child sexual abuse and online abuse. So that will be a formal event. There's also going to be a breakfast about data, where we're going to see what are the different initiatives that are ongoing in terms of collecting data, administrative data, all the way to survey data. And then the 6th event is on the link between education and health and how we can prevent violence in and through schools, really using health settings, both in emergencies and in non-emergencies. So it's going to be a busy week at the World Health Assembly. If you're interested in any of those events, either to know more about it or to participate if you're in Geneva, we're welcome. You can reach out to us and we can give you more information. Again, I'm going to stop here to see if there are any questions. No other questions? If there are no questions, then we might just finish earlier this time. I don't see anything else in the chat. Will a website be created similar to the one for the last conference? In fact, we are using the same one as the last conference. So if you look at that one, you'll see that the tab for Colombia is now one of the tabs. So the core is now around the pledging. And there will be a new tab which will be for Manila. We're in the process of hiring the supplier that will update the website. And so probably within the next 3-4 weeks, the new website will be up. And then with information and resources for civil society to, yes, William, thank you from joining forces. We will try to update information as directly when we get it so that people at country level, at regional level, and at global level can connect with the initiatives and make sure that they're fully engaged. And maybe just that reminds me of one important thing that Ruslana said is we want to focus very much on regional initiatives this year and on regional bodies. We see that that's probably where there's a lot of momentum, slightly more than at global level currently. So we will be working a lot with the regional bodies. In terms of timeline for finalizing, updating, and the pledging guidance, we hope to share the pledging guidance in the next few weeks, probably at the same time as the invitations go out, so that governments can update their pledges. In the meanwhile, please look at the information on the website. There's a lot of information there already on how you can update a pledge or submit a new pledge, but we will be updating that with additional information. Can CSOs participate in the assessment of pledge implementation? No, is the short answer, because it's the pledge holder that will be updating the pledge or giving information, feedback on the pledge. Just to be clear, we're not the CRC, nor in terms of resources, nor in terms of mandates. So we're not here to set up shadow reports and so on. We're more, I would say, cheerleaders trying to accompany countries in their pledge process. And so we very much hope that the discussions that happen at national level with the government, with UNICEF, with WHO, with the UN agencies, and with the CSOs, and with young people, and with academics, that they together assess how the pledge implementation is going, so that it's not one person sitting at their desk and updating the pledge. So I hope that answers your question. And when national meetings will start taking place, we will post them on the website to make sure that people are aware. Countries that have not pledged last time, will they be organizing country consultations? Oh, good question, Susmita. We very much hope so. I mentioned India, I mentioned Thailand. I very much hope that they will start setting up the national preparatory sessions and that they will bring stakeholders and sectors together to start discussing their pledges. So yes, we very much hope so. Yes, and Danny's kindly asking for UNICEF and WHO country offices to be notified when invitations and guides are sent out. Yeah, absolutely. We will do that. We have our next town hall in 6 weeks. Hopefully by then, say the dates will be out and the invitations will be on their way out and the guidance will be ready for everyone. And hopefully by then the satellite event guidance will be out as well. All right, I'm trying to track the chat. Are there any other questions? If so, probably best to put your hand up or your mic on or your video on so you can say something. No? Okay. Oh, I see Helen joined. Helen, do you want to add anything? We discussed the youth event. I know you were there last week. We discussed Words Matter. Ruslana presented on the Ministerial Conference North Star document, and I've tried to answer the questions I could. Helen, do you want to add anything?
No, that sounds fantastic. A joy to join you all. It was an immense privilege to be in the Philippines last week under the incredible stewardship of Brianna and the Global Youth-led movement on ending violence against children. That was just a phenomenal achievement and such a strong signal of youth appetite, engagement, and expertise on ending violence against children. So I think that bodes incredibly well and sets the bar incredibly high for the next 6 months through to the ministerial. I can update to colleagues in terms of some of our plans around the World Health Assembly, but I see Rajiv has his hand up, so perhaps over to him first. Thanks.
Yeah, and Helen, since you weren't on, I updated on the 6 events that are happening, so that's okay. Rajiv, over to you.
Thanks, Sabine. Actually, I asked that question in the chat also regarding the themes for the satellite events. When these themes will be, decided, finalized, and what will those themes be? Any ideas on that?
The themes for the satellite events.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, so Rajiv, what we're thinking is that we will send out a call and to say we're open to receive ideas for satellite events. Then we will try to bring it together, see which ones would maybe fit nicely together, and then hope that the different groups can work together. For example, we've heard that there's one on the prevalence of sexual violence against boys or violence against boys generally. That might be a standalone one if we feel that it doesn't fit into any of the other ones. The ones on children in alternative care, there's already a few groups that have mentioned it, so maybe they can work together on setting up an event. But we do hope that there will be, as I mentioned earlier, that there will be fewer events, but that they're better attended, so that more people go to those rather than spreading participants thin across the events.
Yes, perfectly understood. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabine.
Sabine, I see Özlem is asking for more information regarding the events at the WHA in Geneva. It sounds as if you've done a great summary, so maybe there's no need to explain that again in detail, but perhaps what we can do is circulate a note to the Townhall list, which sets those events out and which are kind of open invitation, which are closed door, and those that folks are able to participate in. So maybe we send something in writing just to make sure people are aware of what's coming down the track and then where there's an open invitation for engagement.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that so that everybody's on the same page in terms of those events. It's very encouraging to see that at the World Health Assembly, there's so much appetite for events on violence against children. Are there any other questions? Somehow my chat has disappeared, Helen. I don't know what's going on. Do you see any other questions in the chat or any hands up?
I only see the questions since I joined a few minutes ago, unfortunately. Özlem had asked for more information about Geneva and WHA. There's a lot of thanks for the updates, which is great. Up from the last few minutes I've joined, sadly, that's all I'm able to see on.
No, that's good. I'm back. I've seen it now. Okay. And again, don't hesitate. In 6 weeks, we have the next town hall. So don't hesitate to let us know if you want to share something, ask something to the group. That's what we're here for. And as we continue to plow ahead for the ministerial conference. Helen?
Yeah, I just wondered one last point, given that we've got a couple of minutes, is just to flag up. I think we'd mentioned previously, likely before Christmas or early in the new year, that we have this growing group of Council of Champions members. The reason I was late for this call is we were having a meeting with one of those ministers, the Minister of Health for Oman. And I just really wanted to share with you that this group is, starting to come together. They're having their first in-person meeting at the World Health Assembly. And we're really actively thinking about what we can be encouraging them to do, what we can be supporting them to do, the role that they can play publicly as a champion for this issue in the ministerial, but also privately, what's the peer-to-peer advocacy they can do with their governments. So as we think about how we engage with those 10 governments, and I think you probably know the list, but I can read them through. So the 10 governments that are represented on that council are Albania, Armenia, Brazil, Colombia, France, Jordan, Oman, Nigeria, the Philippines, and Timor-Leste. It will be interesting if we have any partners on this call that are active and based perhaps in those countries, and whether you have any ideas of creative and strategic ways that we should be engaging them and encouraging their participation. There's obviously lots of ways we can engage them in the formal process, but a number of them also have real appetite to kind of use their personal voice and their public profile for more informal efforts. Maybe it's engaging with children, young people and survivors. Maybe it's hosting a national level dialogue. Maybe it's having media interviews or pieces to camera. So if you've got ideas for how we can engage those champions individually in their country, individually or collectively in their region or globally, do let us know. We're always open to ideas, and I think many of them too are open to ideas. So just to say, that's a really encouraging group that are starting to build up their partnership on this issue. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thanks, Helen. And with that, I don't see any more questions, thoughts, but as Helen said, we'll send you a written summary of the events at the World Health Assembly and this recording. So thank you all very much, always for joining and for your great questions and engagement. And we look forward to speaking again in 6 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks all.